Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for taking the time out of your afternoon to join me, where we take a look at how you can improve your productivity of your practice by combining CCH Practice Management with Twinfield. So, as a bit of setting the scene, we've got an hour scheduled. However, the aim is to keep this to about 45 minutes or so. That's what we're aiming for. If you have any questions, please submit them at any point. Just ask away. And then what we'll do is at the end, we'll see how we're doing for time. We'll probably pick a couple, which can then answer for everybody there at the time. And then what we'll do is we'll make sure that all of the questions that get asked are documented. We'll get you answers, and we'll then share that with the whole group. So as it says just on the bottom here, this webinar is being recorded. So if anything goes wrong for you guys, or if there's somebody who wanted to be able to join but wasn't able to, you'll then be able to share the recording with them. Okay, so what can you expect from today? So we're just going to take a look at what efficiency gains exist within the CCH suite combined with Twinfield. What efficiency gains are there that perhaps you're not aware of, and maybe you could make use of them. I'll also be showing you product. So I'm a big fan of showing live product rather than screenshots. The only bit where I will be showing screenshots is where I'm going to be showing you some of the apps, simply because trying to show what's on my mobile phone on the screen here gets a little bit tricky. So I took some screenshots earlier this morning, and we've just popped those in here. So we're going to be taking a look at some real product, and then we'll just do a quick summary and then some questions. So as a quick introduction, Wolters Kluwer, the most of you on the call I can see are aware of us. However, there are some people who will be finding out about Wolters Kluwer for the first time. So Wolters Kluwer in the UK, we have a couple of hundred employees, and we have a very rich and functional suite of products. Traditionally, it's been on-premise. However, over the past couple of years, we've also been creating new online tools and products, which then integrate seamlessly together. And that's been a key thing for us. People say they love our integrated suite, and they are exceptionally keen that anything we build online is also fully integrated. But as a wider organization, we have 19,000 employees around the globe. And we have customers using our software in over 180 countries. And so that does mean that we are able to not only share some of the great stuff that we're doing in the UK, and other people can then benefit from that, but we're also able to then leverage some of the work which is done in other countries for Wolters Kluwer, so that we can go faster for you guys in the UK. For me, so my role here at Wolters Kluwer is I'm the lead product manager for practice tools. So that's things such as central practice management, document management, reporting, and some other bits and pieces as well. And that's both for our current on-premise and also for our future online cloud tools. By way of background, I've been in this industry for 20 years. I worked in practice for a number of years in the back office, and then as an accountant auditor. And I then specialised in IT for accountancy practices. About 5 years ago, I worked for myself, and one of my clients was Wolters Kluwer. So I came out and saw maybe 400 or 500 practices and worked with them, looking at processes and looking at how products were being used. And that's really helped me by making sure that everything that goes into our products from now on builds on the great stuff that's already been done, and is really going to make sure that it delivers you some further benefits in terms of efficiency. So quick bit of background. We've done a whole load of research. We've spoken to a number of practices around the country. And what we're really interested in, particularly what I'm interested in, is efficiency and what is holding back or removing some efficiencies that you could be having in your practice. And some of the key things and some of the repeat subjects that come back to me are these ones here. So we've got things such as separate back office systems for practice accounting. So it is common in a number of practices, not necessarily by design, that the time recording and billing and cash collection, that whole sales ledger side of things, is all dealt with in one product. The purchase ledger can sometimes then be held in a separate product. The management accounts and the monthly figures for the practice are done in one or other of those systems, sometimes even a third party, a third product as well, or even Excel. And finally, when it then comes to produce your final annual accounts, that then has to be brought back into a product such as CCH Accounts Production. So there's this real kind of disparate and segregated way of dealing with your own practices figures. There's also a lot of efficiency which is lost by manually keying information from purchase invoices for when we're looking at your own practice. And for practices who have gone as paperless as they can, they've got rid of the big paper files of all of their purchase invoices, and those are now scanned into a product such as CCH Document Management. If you're not using the full suite within CCH Central, it means that your scans can be held in, say, CCH Document Management, but actually all of your accounting records for your practice are held in another area. Something else is from a time efficiency point of view, for people who are in an authorizing point of view or a position, that could be a partner, it could be head of purchasing. The feedback that we get is with people saying, look, we've tried to be as efficient as we can. We've got invoices now scanned into document management. However, in order to then approve these documents, these invoices, we actually have to be in the office. And that's the case whether it's using the CCH suite or other products as well. And we're being told that what people want is to be able to make use of the dead time that they have. So when you're on a train traveling in, or maybe it could be that you're at home and you've got a couple of minutes to spare here and there while you're waiting for someone to get ready, you want to just be able to make use of those just 5-10 minutes where you could easily then be approving invoices and doing just some of that back office admin work. Other things which are causing some inefficient processes are from a credit control point of view. You might have someone who is manually entering bank information into a product such as CCH Practice Management. So if you consider a scenario where you've raised your bills within the system, those bills have then gone out to your clients by whatever method, they then paid you, someone then has to manually go into the piece of software and is then manually typing in those bank receipts and then also manually allocating those receipts to the outstanding debt. And finally, the biggest, finally, of the 7 biggest bits of feedback that we get, people are saying that they are still manually sending out debtor statements. Now, whether this is done by post or by email or publishing them to a secure portal, a number of practices are still going through a monthly debtor statement run, which is not only not a great use of somebody's time, that they're manually sitting there and running off a whole load of debtor statements, but it also means from a cash flow point of view, you could be losing out on 3 or possibly even 4 weeks of cash coming in. If you consider the scenario where maybe someone in your firm raises an invoice on the 2nd of the month, and if your invoice runs are done on the 30th, so your statement runs are done on the 30th, that bill will not yet be due. So it's not yet 30 days, which means it may not appear in that statement run. And so it may not appear in the statement run until the 30th of the following month, which effectively means you've given your client 8 weeks to pay, which is obviously great for your clients. It helps their cash flow, but it doesn't help yours. So products that we're going to be looking at today, obviously the point of this is to show the integration between Twinfield and CCH Practice Management. We're also going to be showing how the Basecomb product ties in with Twinfield to really give some added efficiencies in this process. So those are the products that we'll be looking at, and in terms of the areas that we'll be looking at, we're going to look at this in 2 places. So firstly, we're going to look at this from a practice accounting point of view, so from your own sales and purchase ledger and your own management accounts. And we'll also then be looking at the back office efficiency gains. So that's where we're talking around removing the need to manually enter cash and to allocate that and to manually be sending out debtor statements. So for a bit of clarity, for those of you who are not all aware, a bit of background about the 3 products. So with Basecomb, what does Basecomb actually do? Well, Basecomb will take a source document, such as a purchase invoice, could also be a sales invoice or part of your expenses, and it scans in that that document and extracts the information from it and passes that through to Twinfield or other third-party bookkeeping products as well. Basecomb can also manage your expense claims, which will show that as well. Invoice authorization, so that's a way of, there is a way of managing the authorization of those, either through a web browser or through an app, which we'll show you there. And integration with bookkeeping. So as I said, this invoice information extraction, it ties in with Twinfield, as you'd expect. It does also tie in with other products such as Xero. So Twinfield, what is Twinfield? So Twinfield has been around for some time. This is one of our products which was based over in the Netherlands. It's been going for 19 years now. So what is it? It's online accounting. So why make the difference and specifically call this online accounting and not online bookkeeping? I guess the differentiator here is that some of the well-known bookkeeping products have limitations such as transaction limits. Some will only manage a couple of thousand transactions a month. Some will only manage 1,000. We call this online accounting because it is limitless. So there is no restriction on the number of transactions that can be going through each month, which makes this suitable for, and we have customers using this who are of different sizes, down from starting our own and managed businesses up to some of the chains which, if you were out at lunchtime just a moment ago, you will have walked past some of the customers who are using Twinfield. So it's entirely scalable from very small and compact businesses up to very large chains. It has live bank feeds. So Wolters Kluwer, we are FCA approved, which means that we were able to write our own bank feeds to pull information in to Twinfield, which, as you will see, will then passes through into practice management. Multi-everything, so this is multi-location, it's multi-currency, and it's multi-language as well. Flexible reporting, so a number of our customers who are using this will then take advantage of the flexible reporting within Twinfield in order to make very detailed and unique management packs. So once you've got your information within Twinfield, you're able to very simply create the packs that you need to circulate throughout your business to see how your business is doing and make sure that you are aware of everything that's going on. And then finally, CCH Practice Management. So a good number of you on the webinar today already use practice management, and so you'll be aware. However, there are a number of people who don't. So practice management is the part of CCH Central which manages all of your processes and your jobs. So when you think about whether it's preparing the tax returns or accounts, you're able to budget for these. You can then set up the processes. You can easily see what is happening when. Also through practice management, you're able to record time, you're able to generate your bills, and then publish those out to CCH OneClick's portal. I'll talk about a little bit later on where we've got the credit control processes. So we have automated workflows which will assist you in getting your statements and reminder letters out more quickly, which means that you'll get cash coming in, which will improve your workflow and your cash flow. And also with practice management, so practice management already enables you to manage your sales invoices and your debtors. It does already on the on-premise allow you to manage your purchase invoices and your creditors, and the figures from there then flow through to CCH accounts production. So what's different? Well, in our latest release of the on-premise CCH Practice Management, we fully have integrated practice management with Twinfield. So what does that mean? So to be clear, and so you're aware of what we're about to show, time recording and billing still remains within CCH Practice Management, as does the debtors ledger. What this enables to happen is for bank feeds within Twinfield to automatically be reading from your practice bank accounts and feed that through into practice management, which will then automatically match that receipt against the debt which exists there. Also with this release, we've introduced a bit more choice. So expenses can be managed either within CCH Practice Management, which for those of you who have document management as well, you'll be aware that you're able to upload copies of invoices to support your expense claims. You're also, and you'll see this in a bit, you're also able to manage your expenses within Twinfield should you wish. A primary reason for integrating with Twinfield was to completely overhaul and revamp the purchase ledger capabilities within practice management. So the purchase ledger is now able to be completely managed within Twinfield, and you'll see in a moment you're able to use Basecone to OCR information out of invoices and automatically enter that into Twinfield. Also, what this gives us is, instead of managing your sales and purchase ledger within practice management, passing that through to accounts production and doing your management accounts within there, it passes the sales information, and of course you're going to be managing your purchase ledger information within Twinfield, and so from there your management accounts, you're then able to produce some very rich reporting to come out of Twinfield. And as you would fully expect, the information within Twinfield then flows through into accounts production for producing your statutory accounts. Okay, so for a demonstration, what I'm going to do here is just very quickly, we're going to go into Basecone, and we're just going to run through the back office process. So we're going to consider here that we are managing our purchase ledger. What I'm going to do just over on the left hand side here is I can go and pick up an invoice, and I can just say, if we look over here, I've got an Amazon invoice, and I could just say that that's a purchase invoice. Now at this point I could start allocating to cost centers. I could also start attaching a workflow to this and saying who needs to be able to authorize this. However, what I'm going to do is just confirm that there. So the system has now got that. It's identified as a purchase invoice, and what I'm now going to do is just book that in. So what's happened here? So Basecone has OCR'd the information within that document and has automatically populated it into the right hand side. Now, if there were information which was not picked up as wanted, what I can do is, rather than typing anything in, I can just select the text that I want, and when I click into the field, it will then automatically pick that up and populate the text. Because I've used this invoice in a previous demonstration, the system knows that this is a duplicate. So from an efficiency point of view, you're no longer having to wonder, has this already been processed? You will know instantly. If I just change the reference on there. Again, what I could do is up here, I could set an authorization process on here. And when I'm happy, I can just book that in. And that has now been sent straight through into Twinfield, or it could be another product as well. And that has now entered that transaction through into the system. So logging into Twinfield, just show you what we could be doing through here. If I go into my suppliers, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull up some information through here. So if I just pull up a list of suppliers. So once you're in Twinfield, just like any other online accounting product, as you would expect, I can go through here. I can start picking out my suppliers. And through here, this will then drill down and show me the details or summary of all of those transactions which have gone through previously. Again, if I drill down, I'm then able to see the individual information that's around that particular invoice, which nominal code did it go to, values, etc. And because this was entered using Basecone, there's then a link that I can click on. It will take me back to the original document. If I close out of there and go back to my Basecone, a couple of other things to be aware of. So rather than manually bringing in that document, what I could have done, there's a unique email address for each company that you have. You can have a unique email address and have the PDFs emailed to that address. And if you just simply put in a brackets PNV for purchase invoice or brackets SLS for sales invoice, that will already then be profiled and sitting there ready for you to book in and just review the process. If you are the authorizer, there are a couple of ways that you could be doing that. You could either be logged in through the web browser here. Alternatively, you could be using the app. So this is where I said I've used some screenshots because it's not quite so easy to show stuff on my phone. So here are some things I took this morning. So when I first open up Basecone, for the very first time, you are asked to enter in a username, password, and an office code. Once you've done that, you're then given the opportunity to create a PIN, so that from then on, once you open up the Flux product, you're then able to just enter your PIN. It then knows who you are. When I go in here, it's then going to show me any documents I have to authorize. And if I click on to that, it will then show me which documents are waiting for me to have a look at. Selecting that, I can see the original document. And then if I want to see any more details, down at the bottom right there where I've got kind of the details lines, if I click onto that or tap onto that, it will then show me the main invoice information. And if I selected the lines, it will then show me each of the individual lines on that invoice and the nominal codes that it is going to. Back to the original screen. And from an authorization point of view, I'm able to either press onto the tick or the cross down at the bottom to accept or reject that. However, I am also able to swipe in order to do these. So I can swipe one way to reject that. I can swipe another way to approve. Some people may be familiar with that from other apps. However, we've added in a couple of extra bits of functionality. So if you swipe up, you're able to just pop that on hold. And if you swipe down, you're able to say that I'm just going to skip this one for now, and we will then come back to look at that a little bit later. What I can also do from here is down at the bottom left, there are comments. So when I look at this, I can see which comments were added to this document originally. I can then also add in my own comments to that as well. I mentioned the ability to use the app, the Spencer app, for expenses. So some of you may already be using the expenses within CCH Practice Management. If you took the integration with between Practice Management and Twinfield, you can still continue to do that. You are then given the extra ability of using this as well. So how does it work? So you open it up, same kind of stuff, pop in your username, password, and office code. Again, you're asked to create a PIN. The very first time you're then requested, do you want to use touch authentication? Then up to you if you want to turn that on. So if we then come here, I'm then able to create a new expense claim by clicking on the plus at the bottom. And when I do that, I'm then given a choice of where do I want to pull this from. So if we start from right to left and select PDF, I can then pick up any PDFs from my phone. So by default, it shows any recent PDFs. I can then browse, and that will then look at any storage which I have available to me on my phone. Coming back, I could also then go into my gallery and pick out any of the photos in there. However, my children are, as much as I love them, they're unlikely to get me any money back from my employer. So instead, I'll click onto camera, and from there, I'm then able to, as you would expect, click onto take a photo of my particular receipt. As you'd expect, you can then start resizing that. And when you're happy, use the selection. You're then given the option of, do you want to add a multiple page if it's a 2-page receipt, or add in a separate line as well. When you're happy, select done down at the bottom, and it then starts creating your expense claim. So from here, I can put in my description. If I select my payment method and say that this was a private payment, it then creates my expense claim here for me. So I can just run through these, create a name for my expense claim, select the currency if relevant, tap in the value of that. Again, just give that a category, select my date, and then when I'm happy, I can then click on send. So that will then push that through into Basecamp, ready for any authorization, and the information will then get extracted out as we saw with previous invoices. You're also able to look up, as you would expect, you're able to see archives and previous claims, or any claims that you have in progress. And as you would expect, the next time then that I open that up, I'm then prompted to, instead of tapping in a code, I can then use my thumbprint instead. So from a practice efficiency point of view, what can we get out of this? Well, as you've seen, your purchase ledger is able to be maintained and managed within Twinfield. Your expenses, you can continue to use that in CCH Practice Management, or you could manage that within Twinfield. Sales figures that are coming from Practice Management, so any bills that you create automatically get sent through straight into Twinfield, and from there you're able to create your management accounts and any monthly reporting packs. As you would expect, when it's time to do your statutory accounts, the information from there gets automatically passed through to CCH Accounts Production. And because you've used Basecamp for scanning that stuff in, when you're actually in Accounts Production, you're able to drill down to the original transaction within that's come from Twinfield, but you're also able to view the original source document as well. And then finally, an example of an efficiency that you get from using this for your own practice accounts is the submission of your VAT return is then very easy. You just do that direct from Twinfield. So moving on to the second half of this, looking at what efficiencies can you have in your back office. So one of the challenges that people have said to us is, it's first of all, there's a lot of effort that gets put into chasing for payment, whether it's sending out duplicate invoices or statements or chasing letters. And then once you have got that money in, there's then obviously a manual process where someone is manually keying in the receipt into CCH Practice Management. They're then manually having to allocate that to the outstanding debt. So how can this be different? Well, within Practice Management, we already have workflows which allows you to automate to a certain degree the chasing of credit control. And the work that we've done here by integrating Twinfield with Practice Management really just closes that whole process. So if we run through this and you imagine your process, you're going to raise your bills within CCH Practice Management. CCH Workflow then automatically be chasing that debt for you. So no more monthly statement runs. A statement will be sent out the moment that a debt becomes overdue. Because we have the live bank feeds within Twinfield, Twinfield is then able to pick that up and send that receipt back into CCH Practice Management. So the receipt syncs in here, and then you're able to make use of all of the existing functionality within Practice Management to see your debt, your WIP, and all of your debtor days and all this kind of good management stuff. So a couple of screens that you would need to set up within Central. So there's just one simple screen which holds the synchronization settings between Practice Management and Twinfield. From here, you're able to see any warnings around exports or imports. You're also able to see that CCH Practice Management and Twinfield are in balance. I talked about the workflow automatically being able to chase debt. So this is something, if you have our Practice Management product, you already have this. So anyone who is using any of our products has workflow included as part of the package. If you've got Practice Management, then you already have statement workflows like this pre-existing within your system, and which you're able to then either modify or you can just turn on as they are. And as you can see, they're very simple. It's just a case of running through some logic checks. So it says, is the bill due? Is it in dispute? Has it been paid? Is a statement due? If all of the right conditions are met, then a chasing statement is then automatically issued out to your client. So quick demo on here. Let's just pick up something on here. So my starting point would be, I'm just going to need to record some time, so I could just drag out one of my tasks from here. I could say that I've been working on personal tax for this person, and I can then just drag out and say what I've been doing. Now that I have some time recorded, I can go through and just raise a bill. So those of you who use Practice Management will be familiar with this already, so I'm not going to spend any time on here. But for my personal tax, I could just say where I'm going to bill. Usual kind of things. If I'm using requests for payments, I can do that. If I'm covering letters, I can have those kind of things as well. And from here, I can then just post that through. Now, for expediency, I'll just cancel out of that. That's just going to save the time of publishing into document management and then uploading that and sending that through to portal. So the debt there now exists against my client. So I've now got debt. That has been automatically sent through to Twinfield. Now, if we go into Twinfield just here, and I'm going to log into my own demo company. Obviously, what I'm not able to do from here, I don't have a real bank account. I'm not able to just magic money in, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to manually, for the process here, so there's something I can show you. It's just going to manually put some money into the bank account. I guess before we do that, what I will do, you saw the debt on there. I'll also just show you on the debtor inquiry. There's my outstanding debt that we've just created. So if I go into here, all I'm going to do is, because I'm doing it this way, I have to specify who my client is. However, so I don't have to specify an invoice number, I don't have to put in descriptions, and I'm just going to put in the amount. Now, if I had a real bank account for the purposes of this, obviously the bank feed would be looking at the receipts coming in, and it will look at the account that the money is coming from, and the system will learn which of your customers that is. So at the beginning, when you first start using this, as money comes in, the cash receipt will automatically be waiting for you within Twinfield. It's then going to ask you which customer does this need to be allocated against. You do that once, the system will then remember that for next time that money comes in, it knows which client that belongs to. You don't need to worry about creating clients within Twinfield, because as a debt is created within Practice Management, that will automatically, as it passes the debt over in the transaction into Twinfield, it will automatically create the client for you. So you don't need to worry about doing any of that. So let's post that cash. Now, rather than waiting for the sync to go through, even though it's just 1 minute, all I'm doing here is, you can see I'm just going to restart that central service to force through the sync immediately. So as we wait for that just to come through and push up the debt, push through the receipt, you'll see that the debt that I had just down here in the center bottom of my screen has disappeared. And the reason that that's disappeared, if I go in to my client and if I just look at the debtor inquiry, that bill for £1,200 is no longer there. If I click onto the show zero, there's my invoice 305 that we created just a moment ago. And if we look at the allocations, you'll see that that cash that came in from Twinfield has been automatically allocated against the debts that existed. There are a number of allocation rules, as you would expect, so the system is able to work out whether cash is paying off one specific invoice or whether it is paying off a collection of invoices. So why is this something you should be excited about? Well, as I've said, from a practice accounting point of view, you're able to then have a single place where you can manage all of your accounting records for your sales ledger and purchase ledger. You've got all of that in one single place, which is then part of that whole CCH integrated suite. There's no more rekeying or manually exporting and importing sales figures out of one product into another. And again, there's also from your receipts point of view, you're not manually keying things in either. Easy submission of your VAT return. So for your own practice, you're able to easily submit that through to HMRC through Twinfield. And again, as I say, because this is part of the integrated suite, your figures that you are naturally building through your expense claims, through your sales invoices, and through your purchase invoices as well, that's building up the information for your management pack, which will then flow through into accounts production ready for your statutory accounts. And now, even if you were then not using Twinfield for your practice accounting, you're still going to gain from some back office efficiencies. So you're able to completely eliminate the need to manually be going through your bank statements, manually keying in information from your bank into CCH Practice Management. You're no longer having to have a human decide, right, I know which bill that should be going against, because the system is able to recognize which bills are being paid and do that automatically for you. You're also able to remove that bottleneck of the monthly debtor statement run. And so you're able to vastly improve your cash flow. So whereas, as I've said, you could be waiting potentially up to 8 weeks or so in some cases for before a debt starts to be chased, the system will automatically do this for you. And it will also do this in a secure and GDPR compliant way by publishing the statements and any chasing letters that you have. By publishing those into CCH one-click, it means that you're able to do all this in a completely GDPR compliant fashion. So how do you get started? It's very, very simple. Have a chat with your account manager. The same as the on-premise purchase ledger, you just need one setup day. And that's just to make sure that all your nominal codes that you're going to need are aligned and all that kind of stuff is set up. If you're new to Twinfield, you would then have one Twinfield training day as well. Of course, if you're already using Twinfield for your clients, then you're not going to need that. And in terms of cost, it's as little as £52 a month. So, you know, for £50, even at a minimum, you could be automatically sending out your statements and your chasing letters and doing that in a quick and efficient way. So I said I'd aim for about 45 minutes. It's coming up for that, but I've got time for some questions. So there have been a number of questions which have come through. There's some good ones in here. So what I'll do is I'll just pick out 3 and to answer now, and we'll then document all of the others and circulate those to you. Okay, so I've got something here. I already use, okay, so this person already uses a well-known product to extract information from documents. So they say, in theory, it's a huge time saver. However, there seem to be busy times when we have to wait for information. A few times this has been a couple of days. Why would Basecomb be any different? Actually, that's a very good question. Because the difference here is that unlike the provider that you mentioned there, the extraction of information from invoices is not being done manually. And that's why in this particular scenario for the product you're using, that there's sometimes a delay because that's going to a human who is then processing that through. Basecomb is all completely automated, it's software. Okay, so there's never going to be any delay that you have on there. Next question. What have we got? Actually, here's a good one. So it says, I like the idea of having our sales and purchase ledger in one place and the extraction of information for our practice accounts. Could this be used for preparing our client accounts? Yes, absolutely. So in the same way that we've just, but I've just shown you could be using Twinfield for your own practices accounts, you could absolutely be making use of either Twinfield in isolation or Twinfield and Basecomb together, or even Basecomb combined with any other third-party products that you have, in order to efficiently be processing your own clients' records. So you could have a scenario. You remember at the beginning where I showed you there's a unique email address for each business, for each company which is using Twinfield and Basecomb. You could absolutely have your client email their purchase and sales invoices through to that address, and Basecomb will automatically then be picking that stuff up for you and extracting the information for you. It means that you're effectively your bookkeeping team become a book reviewing team, So yes, absolutely, you could be doing that. If you're using Twinfield, as you would expect, because that's our own product, that automatically will flow through into accounts production. However, if you're using a third-party product such as Xero, if you're using our open integration, then you can have exactly the same thing happen, where the information is being extracted from using Basecone, goes into Xero, which then feeds through into accounts production, where you could do your final accounts, and obviously accounts production automatically sends back any adjustments back to the original source product as well. One last question before we finish. Let's have a look. Okay, so someone we've got here. So another vendor. So someone's saying that another vendor used to have bank feeds, but say that they're no longer able to do this due to some changes in legislation. How is Wolters Kluwer able to do this? Yes, so you're absolutely right. There's a process called screen scraping, which is no longer allowed. And so there are a number of products which used to screen scrape and obtain bank information that way. When the rules there changed, Wolters Kluwer took the decision to become FCA approved, so that we were able to write our own bank feeds, because we're aware that this is something which you guys want for your own practice, and also, of course, if you're using this to prepare your clients' accounts, then you can have bank feeds, so automatically in your clients' records as well. So if you're providing the bookkeeping, actually the software can effectively be doing all of that for you. And it's for that reason that we became FCA approved, and so that's why we're able to do this. All right. In terms of time, I've run just slightly over 3/4 of an hour, which is what I said I'd like to try to aim for. So as I've said, there are some other good questions here. What we'll do is we'll answer all of these, we'll put them in an FAQ, and we'll get that sent out to each of you. So thanks very much for your time today, and I appreciate that your time is valuable. Hopefully, if you took up the Twinfield and practice management integration, you'll be able to get yourself more time available. So thanks very much. Have a great rest of the afternoon, and be sure to join us for one of our upcoming webcasts that we have in December.